All right, good afternoon. I am Rafael Maris. I'm the Executive Director of the Neighborhood Developers, also known as T&D. I am also a proud board member of the Massachusetts Association of Community Development Corporations, MACDC. Welcome to my hometown and T&D's newest development, 571 Revere. I am your host, but fortunately for you, only the warm-up act. And in that spirit, did you hear about the last remaining unit in this building? It was last, but most recently it was not leased, as in rented. Okay, I'm going to keep my day job. I'll keep my day job. I'm good. We have an exciting speaking program for you today with speakers who are hopefully funnier than me. MACDC President and CEO Joe Kriesberg, wave, will lead us through the program. We will also hear from Mayor Arrigo, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Secretary Kennealy, Representative Giannino, and I believe Representative Karyn. So let me just say a few words before we get started. The Massachusetts Community Investment Tax Credit Program, lovingly known as CITC, is a critical resource for community development corporations in Massachusetts. At T&D, we have an individual CITC level donor who likes to refer to it as the better mousetrap. I don't know about that, but from where I'm sitting, I have to admit it is maybe the best invention since sliced bread. Last year, $8.8 million of tax credits from a diversity of donors. We're talking individuals, hospitals, banks, construction companies, foundations, and so on, leveraged $17.6 million for community development in Massachusetts. The end result of those investments is impressive. More affordable housing, like this beautiful building, more quality, high-paying jobs, stronger small businesses, and community leaders, local community leaders who are contributing to their community and advancing equity and justice. CITCs allow CDCs to advance community development all over Massachusetts at a bargain price for the Commonwealth. This has paid off in spades during the pandemic because CDCs adjusted quickly and found many new ways to support their communities. But it's not only about money, it's also about partnerships. In about 10 days, two of T&D's CITC level donors, Cambridge Savings Bank and Arrow Street, are going to combine their efforts, roll up their sleeves, and they're going to paint a mural together on the very ground that we're currently standing on. This program probably wouldn't exist without MACDC's advocacy. I know it wouldn't be as successful as it is without the United Way's involvement. But I want to take this moment to thank the Baker-Polito administration, Secretary Kennealy, DHCD, and all the CITC level donors, because without all of you, this definitely would not be possible. So now, please join me in welcoming my mayor and friend, Brian Arrigo, to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the City of Revere. And thank you to Rafael for the very warm introduction and for the lasting partnership between the City of Revere and T&D. I also want to thank Lieutenant Governor Polito, Secretary Kennealy, Joe Kriesberg, and our partners in the state legislature that are here with us today. I do want to recognize some of our local elected officials as well. Of course, we have our two reps, Rep Giannino and Rep Turco. Thank you for being here. We also have Ward 5 City Councilor John Powers, Ward 2 City Councilor Ira Novoselsky, and Council Vice President and Councilor at Large Jerry Visconti. I'm certainly glad today that the Commonwealth has so generously awarded T&D for their efforts and delivered a force multiplier for community investments. From my extensive experience with Raphael and with TND, I trust that these credits, along with the community development block grant money that the city has been able to provide, will go a long way towards meeting our collective vision and the needs of our hardworking families here in the city of Revere. So 571 Revere Street, which is where we're gathered today, could not be a more fitting backdrop for today's announcement. I'll go back 15 years and remind folks that what stood here before this building was actually an old dive bar. And for those of you who know, I worked in the State House for a few years, and the folks at the State House like to imbibe a little bit. And I thought, being the ambassador of the city of Revere, I would invite everybody out to Revere and show off my great city. And so we had a pub crawl. And we got about halfway, the halfway spot was the Cove. We got here and we lost about half our party because there were a few folks who were a little bit afraid to walk into that bar. And if you know people from the State House who work in the State House, and I worked at Ways and Means, we like to drink. We're usually not scared of anything. So I think that says something about what the Cove looked like. But now, flash forward, 15 years, and to have this beautiful building that is housing dozens of our families at affordable rates with beautiful amenities and really an unparalleled location. It really is a testament to the strength of the partnerships between the City of Revere, the Commonwealth, neighborhood developers, and of course the private sector. Of course, the leadership from Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Secretary Kennealy, and other members of the administration have transformed community development all across the state. And buildings like this one serve as symbols of the fruit of their labor. Buildings like this one remind us that together we can create solutions to the housing crisis that create transformational benefits for every single resident. These partnerships are not only helpful, they are absolutely necessary to yielding the progress that we see here today. And I don't have to remind folks that are in attendance today that the process to seeing this kind of transformation can sometimes be pretty difficult. And bringing everyone to the table can lead to some really hard conversations and will oftentimes have competing interests. But we have to have everybody to the table and we must move forward with a shared vision and a shared vision for our communities and for our state. And so this year's CITC awards certainly bring us closer to that vision. And I want to thank you all for being here in the great city of Revere. I want to thank all of the community partners that have gathered here today, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I will now invite Joe Kriesberg, the President and CEO of the Massachusetts Association of Community Development Corporations, to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's great to be here. As I've said before, this is my favorite day of the year, which is hard to say because Thursday's my birthday. So this is still the best day of the week. I'm not that big on birthdays anymore, but I figure I may as well share that little bit. So thank you so much for coming. I'm Joe Kriesberg, and I do want to say a couple things about what the Community Investment Tax Credit is, just for everybody here. I think most people know, but just in case. And then I'll welcome up our main speakers. But the Community Investment Tax Credit, simply put, is a 50% donation tax credit to encourage private donors to give to community development corporations to support the work they do in their community. And when we were working on this legislation back in 2011, 2012, a lot of people asked, why are you setting it up this way? And the answer is because we did the research to look at what do the best CDCs in America look like? What are the qualities and attributes of the best CDCs in America? And we found that there were three qualities that kept coming up again and again and again. The first is that they were deeply rooted in the community. Their boards, their relationships with community partners, elected officials, community-based organizations, they understood the community they served. That was one. Second, they knew how to partner with government. They knew how to take a government program which may be a little bit bureaucratic or written for the whole country, and make it work in this place, in this neighborhood, with all of its unique qualities. I remember talking about that with Governor Baker when he was running for office. He really pointed that out about CDCs. And then third, of course, is that CDCs have to work with the private sector, whether it's a bank or a construction company or a developer. Everything we do in partnership with the private sector. So those are the three qualities. So we wanted a program that drove resources to the CDCs who are really good at those three things. And the way the CITC is designed, you can't play the game unless you're good at all three of those pieces. You have to be a state certified CDC to apply. You have to make a compelling case to the state that you're going to put this resource to good use, and then you have to go out and attract the donations from the private sector. So the resources are flowing to the groups who get stuff done, and no better example of that than the neighborhood developers here in Revere, and I want to congratulate Raphael and your whole team for all of this and so much more that you've done. I don't have time to acknowledge every CDC that joined us today, but these are the CDCs that are stepping up in their community every day to make their neighborhood and their community a better place. And CITC really rose to the challenge. As Raphael said, last year in 2020, when we needed it, we raised $17 million statewide, $5 million more than the prior year. And that allowed CDCs to deliver food, to keep people in their homes, to help small businesses, and do so much to get us through that terrible time. So throughout the last, is it now 6 years? I've lost track. 7, all right. I guess you're counting more than I am. Anyhow. This program has received such great support from the Baker Polito administration. From day one, they understood the power of this program. They helped us get legislation passed in 2018 to extend the legislation and increase the limits so we could do even more. So I couldn't be more delighted than to welcome Lieutenant Governor Karyn Polito to the podium to share today's news.
Well, good afternoon. It is great to be here in the great city of Revere. Joe, thank you very much for taking us a walk down memory lane. I think it's really important to talk about the history of this program and how we were able to work together to make it even better, something good even better, and have the best impact that we possibly could working together for our communities. Back to Revere, I just want to start by thanking the mayor for his incredible leadership in his and the team at City Hall over the course of this past year and a half. We were together a lot by Zoom and by municipal meetings, and through those interactions we learned a lot from each other, and we were able to better serve the communities across our Commonwealth. It was tough for everyone, and I'm really thrilled to see the progress that you've made here in this city, in this region, and that we've been able to make as a Commonwealth relative to COVID-19, with nearly 88% of the people who are eligible for a vaccine having received at least one dose. And of course, we're now administering around 15,000 doses a day. That includes booster shots, making sure that people are protected against the effects of COVID-19. But at the same time, having the ability to not only address the public health crisis, but also address the ongoing needs of our communities, needs like housing development, workforce development, infrastructure improvements, and keeping all that moving forward was critically important. And Revere is like an Exhibit A. In terms of getting a whole lot of stuff done even through this past year and a half. I want to thank the delegation of legislators. They're very good at their jobs. They are not shy about reaching out to the administration when we need to be aware of the priorities for Revere in this area. And it's a great pleasure to see you today and to continue to work with you. Raphael, thank you. Such a warm presentation today. It's clear that you are the sort of the face of what a CDC is like, really understanding what the needs are of the people in your community. And as Joe described, having an entity like a CDC and using this tax credit program, you're able to be as flexible and direct in delivering the service and solving problems in your community that might be unique to you. You've done it with great grace and you bring much joy to a complicated process for a lot of people who you serve. So thank you to the neighborhood developers. I also want to give a shout out to United Way that is somewhere here. Of course, an integral partner to all of us across the Commonwealth. And also want to thank Bob Giannino, Sarah Bartley, and the rest of the team. Thank you for all of your incredible work and help throughout the years. And today is a great day to just to actually say thank you. You're doing a great job, and as the governor often says, when you find something that's working, keep doing more of it. And this is one of those things that we clearly want to see continue. So today's announcement will celebrate 53 applicants that have received the CITC allocation between $50,000 and $250,000 for an overall 2021 award totaling just about $10 million. And neighborhood developers receiving $200,000. And thank you for hosting today. Congratulations. I also want to say just an incredible thank you as an example, and Joe touched on it, what you were able to do over the course of this past year. There was no challenge too big or small that you wouldn't rise up to the occasion for, from food drives to check-ins with seniors, to the emergency rental assistance program and helping people complete those applications and having access to those funds so that they could stay connected to their home and not be displaced at a very uncertain time. And just expanding with the ability to leverage other dollars in programming around financial literacy, home ownership, and educational opportunities for young people and workforce development. As we come out of this pandemic, some of the challenges that existed before have now just been exacerbated. We need to continue, and I want to thank Joe and this whole team for your incredible advocacy with the legislature to help us pass the housing choice laws that have enabled us to open up more opportunities to build housing of all kinds. And with the ARPA dollars, we could add another $1 billion very quickly into existing proven programs around affordable rental, home ownership, all across our Commonwealth. Continue your advocacy because you're really good at that. Please impress upon our colleagues that getting some of these dollars out earlier would really be important. The other is workforce. We released our future work report earlier this summer. We estimate about 300,000 or 400,000 people that will need to access new or different skills in order to continue to be employed and access opportunity. There's also funds that we have requested through the ARPA program to double down on workforce development. And clearly infrastructure. You need updated, reliable infrastructure to build beautiful developments like this, and resilient infrastructure, clearly in a city like Revere, where you are the stewards of a beautiful waterfront, to continue to support and maintain all of that takes resources that clearly a municipality alone can't shoulder the burden for. So we've got a one-time unique opportunity with these ARPA dollars, and there's urgency to addressing a lot of these needs. And today, I just want to say thank you for helping us over the course of this past year and a half solve some really thorny, hard issues, and thank you for making the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, through our communities, a better, stronger, and more loving and wonderful place to live. And with that, I'm now going to turn it over to our Secretary Kennealy, who's going to add a few more details about this program. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you, Raphael, for hosting us. Great to see the mayor, the legislative delegation. Joe, great to see you as always. I'm going to be somewhat brief in my remarks, and just to say that I find that no matter what the issue is, all issues in housing and economic development, anywhere in Massachusetts, there's a CDC working on those issues. And I truly don't know where we'd be without the great work of our CDCs. And I know I see you everywhere. I know you're everywhere because I see you everywhere. As I travel the state and go tour downtowns and small businesses and affordable housing developments, the CDC's impact is felt all over the state in virtually everything we're trying to get done in the housing and economic development realms. Without the CDCs, we would not have had housing choice, most consequential zoning reform now in a generation. We would not have had the largest state small business relief grant program in the country. There are many, we would not have had 20,000 affordable housing units permitted and developed over the last number of years. So your work has been incredibly consequential. And I always say that, you know, the work of the CDCs is important in normal times. The last year and a half has been anything but normal. And your work, your contribution has been incredibly vital, incredibly important. And so the message really today is thank you. And congratulations to the folks getting the awards, but you've been such great partners in everything we've tried to get done. You know, we live in a pretty uncertain world now. As the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, we just released this Future of Work study a couple months ago. And, you know, it describes a world where there's more people working in remote and hybrid manner. And what does it mean for us as a state where we need to focus on how do we develop, attract, and retain talent? How do we maintain our competitiveness? The report also has a strong focus on equity. You know, how do we create a more equitable economy? And I know as we go forward, the CDCs will continue to be incredibly important partners in that regard. I do want to touch briefly on housing. We've been using the term housing crisis for a long time on our team. And I think now there's reason for optimism that we can finally, we got some bees flying around, huh? We can finally perhaps play some offense, if you will, in trying to address that housing crisis. Thanks to Housing Choice, thanks to the Economic Development Bill the governor signed this year. And I'm going to play some offense on the bees here, I think, or defense rather. And they want to, exactly. And I'll particularly feel optimistic if we get $1 billion in ARPA funds to put to work towards housing. So very critically important to get that one done. But I think I'll leave it there. It's a great day. And I'm so glad we got this event on the calendar. We were with you 2 years ago in Chesterfield, Hilltown CDC, all right? And so great to be back with everybody again today. Thank you and congratulations.
This program wouldn't exist without the legislature. It wouldn't continue without the legislature. So it's really important and really great that we have two members of the General Court who are going to share a few words. Representative Jessica Giannino.
Thank you, everyone. And I also want to acknowledge my colleague in the House, Representative Turco, for being here. Thank you for your partnership. And I've had the pleasure of serving with Representative Carey on the NREC committee, and it's been such a pleasure to discuss some of the environmental concerns that we have shared. I'm so honored to be here today to be with all of you to talk about this program. And when I listened to the speakers that were up here earlier, one thing really stuck out and one thing came to mind, and that was the word partnership. And when I think about our relationship with TND, that word partnership comes back into mind. So Raphael, I want to thank you and your team at TND for what you've done for the city of Revere and continue to do, and also Chelsea. We really do have an amazing partnership here in the city of Revere and in the city of Chelsea with TND and with so many other CDCs that help us, right? And when you think about a pandemic and what that brought to our community, Revere, we were in the red the majority of the pandemic. Our people, I apologize, really got a lot of bees today. When you think about our people that were here, there were people that were so impacted by this pandemic that were facing food insecurities, housing insecurities, and so many other issues. And our partnership with TND really was crucial. They came in, they stepped up, they helped us find housing for people that needed housing, they helped deliver food to people that needed food, and really just anything the community needed, Raphael and his team stepped up and we're here to deliver, so thank you for that. When I think about partnership, aside from my partnership with this bee that's flying around my head right now, I think about the partnership that I have now in my new role in the State House with my colleagues in the city of Revere and this delegation. And if it wasn't for those strong partnerships that we have, we wouldn't be standing here today in front of this development. Mr. Mayor, I did not have the pleasure of being old enough to make it into the Cove when it was down here, but I did drive by it several times growing up and heard quite a few stories from some older cousins, my uncles and my father. So to be standing here today at this facility and to see what TND's brought to the city of Revere and what these CDCs can do for my community, this is such a huge program for the entire Commonwealth. So to all the CDCs out there helping small cities and towns like the city of Revere, thank you for what you do every day. To TND and to my partners in the city of Revere, thank you for what you do. And Lieutenant Governor and Secretary, thank you for always being here for the city of Revere, for stepping us and for being here when we need you. Thank you.
Representative Turco, would you like to say a few words?
I wasn't expecting to, but you never turn away a mic. So, you know, at the risk of being repetitive, I did want to thank the mayor and his team, City Hall, the members of the City Council, my legislative colleagues, but also the governor and the lieutenant governor. You know, if you look at the last number of years that your administration has been in effect, the number of times that you guys have been to Revere, been to Winthrop, and your dedication to the people of this area, it really is phenomenal. And on a personal note, I want to thank you for coming to visit us so often and making things happen for the people of Revere in Winthrop. Thank you very much. Thank you to T&D. I mean, all you got to do is look around. You know, years ago I was at Purdue University, and the Memorial Center has a sign that says, if you want to know the work that these people have done for our university and what they've meant, just step outside and look around. And the work that you're doing at T&D is one of those effects on the city of Revere, that at some point people will step outside and look around the city and say, T&D has helped to make this, help transform our city for the positive. And so I want to thank you on behalf of the people of the city of Revere for your dedication and your commitment in the good work that you're doing to help solve to help address so many issues, including the housing crisis. And Mr. Secretary, you're spot on in terms of getting some of that ARPA money, and the Lieutenant Governor getting some of that ARPA money to maybe a lonely voice in the wilderness, but I'm with you on the idea that we need to get that money out and get it into the communities to help build and build fast. So thank you very much for what you do. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you, Representative. And we absolutely agree. We have to get that ARPA money going as soon as possible. I do just want to make a couple of last thank yous before we close it out. I want to thank Undersecretary Jennifer Maddox at DHCD, who has stewarded this program and done a terrific job on this, but on so many more things over the last 18 months. And I also want to give a shout out, even though she's not here, to Catherine McNellis, who actually staffs this program on a day-to-day basis and reads all the plans and reviews everything. She's incredibly diligent and really a great example of what public service looks like. And I think we don't thank our public servants enough. And over the last 18 months, they have worked incredibly hard under trying circumstances, and they don't get a lot of attention. So, and I also want to thank John Fitterer from MACDC staff. When this passed in 2012, I knew we needed somebody who was focused on CITC because there was a lot to do to get it implemented, and we hired John, and he's done a great job and has been there every step of the way. So thank you, John. The stay is yours too. I guess it's time to go. So thank you everyone for coming, and I think we're going to do a couple of photos and we'll get on our way. Thanks.